Kyle, thank you for coming on to the show. Coffee with coworkers. Well, in my case, coffee with former coworkers, So this is a great special day for you today. I know you're not big on celebrating the birthdays, but this is the big one.
Yeah, you're right. It can be perceived that way.
30 years old. You know how many things are 30? You have nothing that's 30 years old, Well, I wanted to get started today. Basically, I have 4 simple questions for you. Number 1, I know that you grew up in Texarkana. You weren't actually born there. Tell us where the heck Texarkana is and what kind of name is that?
Well, unless you've seen Smokey and the Bandit, Texarkana is 2 hours east of Dallas.
I love Sally Field.
Right. I was actually born in Fort Worth, Texas. All my family's from the Houston area, but we very early on moved to the East Texas. So Texarkana is on the eastern border, farthest east city in Texas. That has the name Texarkana because it is in Texas and Arkansas, and it's considered a tri-state city, which also includes Louisiana.
All right. So my question is, your accent, is it from Texas, is it from Louisiana, or is it from Arkansas?
Well, definitely for a fact, it's from the Texas side.
Yeah, awesome.
So,
my next question is, I met you for the first time, 6 years ago?
Roundabout.
Yeah. You were actually applying at a dealership, kind of just trying to get your foot started. You had some sales background, but you were willing to, hey, put me on the telephones. I can be telemarketing, everything like that. Okay, you go from being telemarketer, which is a tough gig, you're willing to do that. Fast forward 6 years, and you are a manager at one of the most successful dealerships in the Panhandle. And Street Volkswagen last month, you and your team had a record-breaking month. Since you have been involved in the Certified Pre-Owned program at Street Volkswagen, you are ranked in the top of the nation, top in Texas. So, hey, put me on the phones, I'll make some phone calls to where you are now. What the heck happened in between is my question.
Well, I definitely learned that I liked sales before the car business. Right after the military, I didn't know what I was going to do, and so I ended up selling door-to-door for AT&T, and became very passionate and liked that. When I got in the car business, I just started to realize that that's probably what I was going to do for a while. And for me, the difference is you got to, whatever you do, it's got to be something you want to do. And so when you want to do something, you naturally are going to learn.
Right.
So the willingness to learn, is a little bit more scarce than most people think, especially in our day and time. But definitely with the willingness to learn and knowing that it's always good to continue to adapt to the marketplace.
But I've got to ask, as far as doing what you want, one of my favorite stories is that when you started in one of your first sales jobs, you went out for an interview in a neighborhood or in a residential area. You're kind of thinking, what's this? I mean, just tell me a little bit about that, because at that point, once I find out this is door-to-door, I think a lot of us viewers would run. Door-to-door, that's a tough gig.
Well, I've saw many people run, and after I got promoted to the manager for door-to-door sector, I realized that, little did I know that it was the 6th worst job to have in America.
Yeah.
But
I'm wondering about the other 5 worst jobs. What are those?
The difference was whenever I went, I surely thought it was for an interview, and it wasn't. It was actually bitch being thrown right out into the field.
Yeah.
And so I just became intrigued and interested right away. Whenever he knocked on the door, the difference was I wasn't afraid of it. It was something that I knew was going to be a challenge, and I think that's what attracted me to it.
One of the things that I like you've told me, going door to door, you have 6 seconds, 8 seconds to make an impression?
It's generally 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
Not very long.
Yeah, and within that 8 seconds, you pretty much know if you have an interested prospect or what, right?
Yeah. You figure out pretty quick how it's going to go.
And how long does it take the person at the door or the customer to kind of know, if they like you or if they're going to want to deal with you too?
I think it depends a lot on what you say and how you say it, of course. A lot of times, you're just really there to let somebody know what you can do for them. Yeah. And I think it's very important that you kind of let them know that right away. And a lot of times, try to make it funny and make yourself attractive and give them a reason to want to listen to you.
Yeah. I was thinking about our first 6 seconds. I wasn't sure if can I get along with this guy, Can I understand through that Texarkana accent is what I thought in my first 6 seconds.
Well, that's the benefit of being somewhere where, it's on a complete opposite side of Texas. And there's not a lot of people there in El Paso were completely used to the accent. So needless to say, got me in the door a few times.
Awesome. My next question is, I have been privileged to meet some of the mentors that you've had in your life. Your father, John Luciano. I know of some mentors I've never met, but just because of the way you speak about them and how they're still a part of your life and you carry the teaching still. Seth, I never met the man, but I just know, like Seth always told me this and that and stuff like that. I throw myself under your umbrella of being one of your mentors. The question is, you didn't stop there. In the time that I've known you, you've taken people under your wing, and you have become a great mentor to many people. Talk to me a little bit about why mentoring, why you believe in it, and why it's important.
Well, I didn't know it right away, but I learned it as time passed and as I started doing something I really enjoyed. But, of course, you realize that people that are great or have done great things, most of the time, I would say a majority of the time, have had somebody who mentored them. And I think if you look back even, hundreds and thousands of years ago, if you hear all the stories, even in history, most of the people had mentors.
Like a blacksmith would take a little apprentice, and they would study, and they would do that, and then those professions.
So it goes back to the same thing of willingness to learn and listen. And sometimes we don't want to listen to everybody. So it's really important that we realize that not only is it helpful, but hey, who do I want to listen to? One of my favorite examples is Ty Lopez. Everybody's seen him on the internet. Mostly for his videos, and a lot of times people don't realize what he actually does. Because of his videos, the way he markets, but
the Rolls Royce and all. It's not for everybody, and sometimes
you
people
got to keep watching
off.
them. And if you sign up, he's actually got some pretty good material. That's actually very good. He owns the largest online bookstore in I believe in the world. But either way, he's a very interesting individual once you study him, and he has one of the top 10 TED Talks for mentors. So there's been hundreds and probably tens of thousands of TED Talks, and the guy who a lot of people don't know a lot about, some people do, he actually had his talk is about mentors, and it's considered one of the top 10. So it's definitely very important, and if anybody that's looking to get better and refine themselves, that's usually one of the main ways you do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, because of you, I gave Ty Lopez, and again, it's a Lopez too. You think I give him a chance? I couldn't get past the flashy, Rolls Royces and the big homes too, because of you. And you said there was something deeper. I took a deeper dive, and I was very impressed with it. And he's a brilliant mind. And what I like about it, once you get into some of his videos stuff, he's very transparent about what he's doing. And that was my concern. Like it's big secrets, but he's very open about how he makes money.
And he's of course just an example, but he'll tell you if you've watched some of his stuff, he tells you who he looks up to and things. And what's cool about people like him, who does what he does, he besides having mentors, he even opened himself up for feedback and for somebody to he actually did a live stream with a guy from New York who was completely on the other side of the country, and the guy didn't believe in a lot of the stuff that he does or didn't believe that he knew what he knew, and so he actually had a healthy debate with this person. And then that's actually one of the first times where I really learned a lot of the stuff that he's done. It was just interesting. Nobody does that. You know what I mean? So of course, everybody having mentors is a good idea, but always taking feedback from anybody and everybody is also definitely a good thing to do.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's been a pleasure watching you over the years and watching your career flourish. It's been incredible. What would your advice be? And then my final question: what would your advice be to many people who are in sales who might not stick through it? Guys like that are out there thinking, running out of the neighborhood because they don't want to sell door to door, or you've always been willing to do whatever it takes. What is the advice you might have for a young professional out there, or maybe like me, maybe an older professional, about sticking with it and sticking in this tough business of sales?
Well, first of all, you got to want to be successful, because if somebody doesn't want to do something, then chances are likely that it's not going to happen. So you have to realize, am I just fine with what I have, or do I want better? And the next thing is something my manager used to tell me that when I worked in the door-to-door is a lot of successful people, they do what other people won't do. And so I used to ask him, and I got a little better over time, and I would knock a door and it would work, and then I would do 3 in a row. And I would ask him, hey, by the way, I wanted his feedback. What do you think I did well there that worked? And he told me, he would say, well, in this scenario, you were willing to do
a lot of people don't want to hear what they do wrong.
Sure. And he said, in this scenario, what you were doing is you were doing what most people wouldn't be willing to do. And so I think you can take that philosophy and aspect to anything you do, whether it's car sales, in the hospital, or whatever it is that you're doing. Most successful people, if you take a look, you don't have to look very hard. They are willing to do what others aren't.
Yeah. Great answer. Well, I appreciate you coming on Coffee with Ex-Coworkers, and happy 30th birthday to you today. I hope to be here interviewing you on your 40th birthday. Of course, I will be 87 then, and we'll have to put a little closer to the mic.
I'll have a feeling I won't have a choice. I'll be,
Absolutely.
I'll be running
just like today.
I'll be running as fast as I can, and you'll be there with the camera.
All right. Happy birthday, my brother.
Thank you.